Alright guys, the right time to solve a quadratic equation. And by taking your high school proficiency exam, this is definitely one of the types of the problems that you will encounter. Which equation has roots of -3 and 5, right? And you have four options, A, B, C, and D. Well, how can we figure out which one is the right answer? Well, look at your roots, -3 and 5. In order for these two integers, two numbers, to be the roots of these four options here, of any one of them, they need to check in the equation. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you plug in -3 in all of this equation here, -3 will verify, will basically make a true statement, the one that will be the right equation, the equation that has -3 as one of its roots, right? So if instead of x you're going to write -3, you will have, let's say with the first one, -3 squared minus 2 times -3 minus 15 equals 0. And if that's true, if the left side is 0 equaling the right side, which is already 0 here, then you'll definitely have -3 as the root. Okay, so let's start with the first one, x squared minus 2x minus 15. Let's plug in that -3 into this equation. And I have what? I have -3 squared minus 2 times -3 minus 15 equals 0. Well, -3 squared is actually what? That would be 9. -2 times -3, right? Or if you want to go by ignoring this negatives, by this subtraction sign first, you have 2 times -3, which is -6. But because you have to subtract -6, you end up with +6, right? Minus 6 will be positive, will be +6. And then minus 15 equals 0. Well, is that true? 9 plus 6 is 15, minus 15 equals 0. That is true. So -3 is a solution to this equation. Now, do not rush to say, hey, A is the answer yet, because you still have to check if 5 verifies this quadratic equation. And in order for me to find out, I'm going to substitute that 5 instead of x into my equation. And I will have what? X squared, 5 squared minus 2 times x minus 2 times 5 minus 15 equals 0. Well, let's simplify this expression. 5 squared, that would be 25, minus 2 times 5 minus 10 minus 15 equals 0. Is that true? 25 minus 10 will be 15. Minus 15 is 0. Yes, it is true. I can tell that -3 and 5 are the roots of this equation. And to answer the problem, which equation has roots of -3 and 5? Well, I'm going to say A is the right answer. Now, this is one way to solve it. Another way is to take your quadratic equation x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0 and see if you can factor this equation here on the left into the product of two binomials, right? See if it's factorable. If it's prime, then you're done. Obviously, you have to move to the next one. But let's see. Well, if there are two binomials whose product is x squared minus 2x minus 15, what is the first term in each one of them? Well, will be two variables that multiply to x squared, and obviously that will be x and x. Now looking at the last term, it's a negative number. if that negative number is the product of your last terms in each one of them and is negative, you better have x plus and x minus a number, right? Because the two numbers need to have a different sign. More than that, I'm looking at the middle term here. Whatever those two numbers are, they should add up to -2. And you're looking for factors of -15 that add up to -2. And the first thing that comes to my mind, and it should be yours too, will be what? 3 and -5. Is it 3 times -5, 15? Well, absolutely. The only thing I have to check now if 3 plus -5 is going to be -2. Is that true? 3 plus -5, it is -2. And I'm done. Now I can tell you that the factorization of this quadratic equation here will be x plus 3 times x minus 5. And obviously, because it's an equation, this equals something, equals 0 in this case. Now, all you have to do next is to check if -3 and 5 are the solution of this equation. And by the zero product property that says that if two numbers a and b multiply gives you 0, this implies that either a equals 0 or b equals 0, or obviously you can have both equals 0. I can go back here and say, well, if x plus 3 times x minus 5 equals 0, then I either have x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0, right? And this will give you the two solutions, the two roots. If x plus 3 equals 0, take away 3 from both sides, and you find that your x1 is -3, right? And if x minus 5 equals 0, you find that the second solution will be x2 equals, you add 5 to both sides, right? Equals 5. This is another way in which you can solve this problem and definitely say that yes, A is the right answer, and you should move on to the next problem. Questions?